Welcome back, bigots. I originally wasn't going to do a video on this subject matter because every Tom, Dick, and Harry has already done that. Some of my favorite YouTubers, such as Vera Dark, J Viper, Hypnotic, 𝐞𝐫, Savvy, among many, many others, have already discussed the collective shout situation. But after seeing this post by Madam Savvy, I realized that I must throw my hat in the ring as well. And I'm kind of glad I did, and you'll see why. If, for some reason, you aren't familiar with Collective Shout and the big news surrounding them, I will quickly summarize the series of events so you know what has been happening. But first, who is Collective Shout? Well, according to themselves and on their own website, this is what they have to say. We are a grassroots campaigns movement, a collective shout. You see what they did there? Against the objectification of women and the sexualization of girls in media, advertising, and popular culture. Now, this seems all good and well, doesn't it? Seems rather virtuous. But what this little group has accomplished recently has convinced me they aren't as righteous as they would have you believe. That Park Place summarizes what Collective Shout has done in this way. Their strategy? Bypassing platforms and developers to target payment processors directly. By flooding Visa, MasterCard, and even PayPal with complaints, petitions, and accusations of facilitating violent content. Collective Shout exploited the company's brand protection policies, drawing on feminist theories that equate such content with real crimes. The group framed these games not as fiction, but as enablers of criminal activity. End quote. Just like any radical feminist group, they paint who they don't like as evil incarnate, then attack their new enemy using whatever means necessary. The problem this time around is that the video games they managed to ban on Steam are mostly from Japan, and we all know Japan's attitude towards sexuality in general, is nowhere near as stringent as America or Australia. Now, to be fair, the games on Steam that were banned were adult content oriented. And again, as I mentioned previously, some of them originated in Japan. Which means, if you choose to buy those types of games, you must be 18 or older to do so. And Steam clearly labels the game in question in a way that you won't doubt what you are purchasing. It's very clearly defined. Steam also has an age verification process where you type in your own birthday. Clearly, some underage gamers can simply circumvent and create a fake birthday so they can do what they want to do, but that behavior is on them and not everyone else. I certainly can't be held responsible for what some underage kids do, and neither should you. Since the poop has hit the proverbial fan, Collective Shout has been getting walloped by the replies and comments. Now, what you propose Collective Shout would do in response to that kind of backlash? Well, they lock down their X accounts, which is usually a good indicator that they know that they're wrong. But before they bravely ran away, a series of contradictions and fumbles ensued. For instance, we hear that members of Collective Shout attempted to minimize or even dismiss the fact that they don't exactly oppose the movie Cuties. Weird. In fact, they support the movie by calling it a protest against the sexualization of girls. I'm not sure if they saw the same movie we're talking about. Another example shows that this Collective Shout once tried to get Detroit Become Human banned because they claimed it depicted child, you-know-what, and violence against women. For clarity's sake, I'll have to explain that Detroit Become Human is a game about the near future where androids are a dime a dozen, and some of them even become detectives. You play as one of the detective androids. Well, in Detroit Become Human, you are faced with interacting with different scenarios, and you get to decide how those scenarios play out. meaning you have some agency regarding how the plot unfolds. Which means that you can choose to save certain characters, like the child, or not, because it's a choice-based game. But I want to delve a little deeper than that surface-level explanation, and this is where things get fun. Let's examine what 𝐞𝐫𝐤𝐿 considers abusive about the first chapter, titled The Hostage in Become Human. I investigated some of the statistics involving the achievements for Detroit Become Human, and what I found was rather interesting. According to Exophase, which is a voluntary data collection site, you can see that the percentages of each achievement. I discovered there's an achievement for saving Emma, that little girl in that game that 𝐞𝐫𝐤𝐿 seems to hate. That achievement is titled Mission Accomplished. Do you know how many gamers obtained that achievement? A whopping 98.76%. Now, just to be transparent, I will specify that the 98.76% is not the total sum of every gamer worldwide, and it could include returning gamers who wish to obtain every achievement, but it still proves a valid point I'd like to make, which is, if gamers are pro, you-know-what, as 𝐞𝐫𝐤𝐿 asserts, why are gamers at such a hilariously high percentage of making sure a child is saved in a video game? What a comically absurd dichotomy we have here. On one hand, we have screeching harpies lecturing us about child endangerment in video games that they clearly don't understand. And on the other hand, we have gamers dedicating their time to saving those fictional innocent children. So let's summarize. Gamers willingly and at high percentage save fictional children from harm. Conversely, 𝐞𝐫𝐤𝐿 supports movies about exploiting real children.
Right.
But why stop there? Did you know that according to John Ebinger, a developer who worked on Mass Effect, he admitted that gamers overwhelmingly chose the good or moral path titled Paragon in Mass Effect, to the tune of 92%. So if 𝐞𝐫𝐤𝐿 wants to start belittling gamers as morally bankrupt monsters, they're going to have to try a little harder than this. Now, I understand that some gamers will buy, shall we say, unwholesome content, but if they're of legal age, that's their decision, and does not, in any logical way, correlate to all gamers. Now, in response to this madness, we've had some collateral damage. Anna Valens, someone who isn't exactly on our side, per se, just got canned for penning this article. She was told to take this article down, which she subsequently did, and then she explains why she got fired. So feel free to pause this video here just so you can read this post. It's fairly informative. Suffice it to say, these ladies aren't going to stop until they are stopped. Their insufferable behavior demands a measured response. Now, I went snooping on their website and found an About section. I took a brief look, and they give a definition to objectifying that I wanted to share with you, as it is very pertinent to my argument overall. They claim their own definition of objectifying, which is this. Objectification is the process by which a person comes to be treated as a commodity or an object for use, rather than a human being with a personality, feelings, needs, dignity, and rights. Sexual objectification is where a person is objectified for the purpose of sexual gratification or use of another. Tell me, 𝐞𝐫𝐤𝐿, how do we objectify women if the women are fictional? I know it's a big ask, but could you explain that to us? You logically cannot objectify what is not real. For instance, I can't insult Grok, an AI program, because there's no human element within a computer program. There are no feelings to hurt. You can try to pull my heartstrings with examples of Data from Star Trek all you want, but the reality is video games are not real. Adults, by and large, understand this differentiation between reality and fiction. It seems odd that Collective Shout is incapable of separating the two. Or, perhaps, they do understand, yet engage in petty tyrant exercises for their own personal enjoyment or amusement. Which brings me to my conclusion. I'm convinced that their goals have no end. This is only the beginning. First, they'll take down low-hanging fruit, which clearly they already have done. Next, they'll go after Stellar Blade, Bayonetta, Black Myth Wukong, etc., etc. They will continue to use this payment processor loophole for control as they go after violent video games next. Mark my words, they will try to ban Doom, Dusk, Halo, Sleeping Dogs, GTA, you name it. They will do this in the name of saving kids, as they completely ignore the consenting adults in the room who have the right to purchase whatever they want. As I have always said, these people are tyrants. And I'll give you one last prediction. Call me crazy all you want, but I can see the writing on the wall. Eventually, if these pseudo-Puritans get their way, they won't just have the power to take away what you want to buy. Soon, they'll have the power to force you to buy what you don't want. That, unfortunately, is where all of this is going. Absolute control over you. That's all the time I have for this video. If you like what you heard, and if you like what you saw, please like and subscribe. Now, remember, a lot of you are reoccurring watchers, so please do me a solid and do all the happy social stuff, like, subscribe. You can find me on X, you can find me on Gab, and until next time, try to have fun.